Today's lesson is 3.1. 3.1. Verbal expressions. And then we're also going to do some one-step equations. Today's lesson is laying the foundation for what you're going to do in the next 3 math classes. So what you're going to do in Algebra 1, Geometry, Algebra 2, and for the rest of your math career. So as we're talking about processes today, it's really important that you understand the process of what's happening and not just what the answer is. Because if you just find out what the answer is, you're not going to know how to do it when the problems get a little bit more difficult. Okay? So if we look at this warm-up here, it says, given x plus 2 equals 5, what must x equal? So if you're looking at this problem here, x plus 2 equals 5, what does that x number have to be? David? What does
I thought it would be the 5, but...
What number plus 2 equals 5?
3.
Okay, so we know that, right? We can just think about what number plus 2 equals 5. However, we have to understand the process of how we would get 3 to be able to move forward in these types of problems, okay? So the first thing, before we talk about the process, the first thing we're going to talk about is inverse operations. So when we talk about inverse operations, we're talking about things that undo each other. So inverse operations undo each other. And we're going to use inverse operations as our first vocab word. Okay, so if you want to underline that there, it says inverse operations. That's going to be our first vocab for Unit 3.
What did you say it was?
Inverse operations undo each other. So if I talk about addition, what is the inverse operation of addition? What's the thing that undoes? Subtraction, right? And you can go the other way. You can say the inverse operation of subtraction is addition. What about the inverse operation of division? What undoes division? Multiplication. And vice versa. So it's important for us to remember these things, that addition and subtraction undo each other, and division and multiplication undo each other. Okay? So the one thing I really like about this handout is it gives you a step-by-step process. And I think for some students, it's so helpful to have a step-by-step, what do I do next? What's the first thing? What do I do next? And so on. So if we look at this step number 1, it says locate the variable. And we know what the word variable means.
Excuse me.
Okay, locate the variable and determine the operation that is tied to the variable. So when we are solving equations, the whole goal of solving equations is to get the variable by itself. So what I'd like for you to do is put a box around this x.
Excuse me.
Okay, so if we put an x in the box, I kind of moved over the sign. So what is, if we want to get x by itself on that side of an equal sign, do you see where your equal sign is? It kind of creates 2 sides to the problem. So on the left side, we have x plus 14, and on the right side, we have a 30. So I have a positive 14. I'm adding 14, so the opposite or the inverse operation would be what? Subtract 14. And we are all about showing our work here. So you're going to subtract 14. But this is an equation. And so an equation means you have to do things to both sides, because we want to keep things equal. So whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other side. And you're going to hear me say that about 325 more times. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other side. So if we subtracted 14 on the left side, then I'm going to subtract 14 on the right side. Then I want you to draw your line like this. We cancel 14. What's positive 14 and negative 14 equal? 0, right? So this cancels out, so we can cross that out. The 14s we can cancel out. What's still over there on the left side? On the left side, our x is still there, right? That 14 is gone, and so I have my equal sign that I bring down. And then on the right side, 30 minus 14 is 16. Is x by itself on the left side? Is there anything else on the left side with x? No. So x is by itself. So we have now solved the equation. This says, though, show your work, we did that, and then check your solution. Any ideas how I would check my solution? Mackenzie? Okay, remember on the last unit when we were plugging variables or numbers in for our variables? So Mackenzie is saying, take this 16 and plug it in for that x. And see if you get the same thing on either side. So my problem was 16 plus 14, does that equal 30? So when we plug 16 in for our x value, 16 plus 14, 30 does equal 30. So we have checked our solution. We want to get the same thing on either side. And so our answer is x equals 16. So we have sufficiently solved the equation. Any questions on number 1? I know for some of you, this is not the first time you've seen that, and that's okay. We're going to continue to work on our foundation. Number 2 says 2 plus y equals negative 4. The first step up there says to do what? What's our step number 1? Locate the variable. So if I'm going to locate the variable, I'm going to find my variable, which is a y. And remember, our equal sign divides the problem into 2 different sides. So if you need to draw that line down there, you can. What's on the same side of the equation as the y? 2. And we need to get rid of that 2. But what's the sign with the 2? Is the 2 being added or is the 2 being subtracted? Well, this y, this plus sign is going with a y. It's not going with the 2. But we look at the sign that's in front of the 2. Is this a positive 2 or a negative 2? It's a positive 2. So if we have a positive 2, that means we're adding 2, and the opposite of addition is subtraction. So we're going to subtract 2. But whatever we do on one side, we have to do to the other side. We know that 2 minus 2 cancels out, so I'm going to cross those out. On the left side, I'm just left with y, or my equal sign. And now I have negative 4 minus 2. Okay, and so now we have to go back to our integer rules. Negative 4 minus 2, are they the same signs or opposite signs? Same signs, so we add. So that's going to give me a negative 6. If I go back and plug it in to check my solution, my original problem was 2 plus y equals negative 4. But instead of y, I'm putting a negative 6.
Does that 6 have to be in parentheses?
You can. Everyone understands how I'm checking it? This was my original up here. And I'm just plugging the negative 6 in for y. What is 2 plus negative 6? Negative 4. Does negative 4 equal negative 4? Yes. So my answer is y equals 6. Questions on that one? Why don't you try number 3 on your own? Follow the steps we have been doing. Jose, what did you do on the first step here?
-18 minus 5.
Okay, so you got rid of the 5, right? And you're getting rid of the 5 by subtracting the 5 on each side?
Yeah.
Okay. So 5 minus 5 cancels out. Left with P on the left side. -18 and -5. David?
You're supposed to add and then comes up to -20.
-23.
Oh.
-23.
I guess that counts.
Who has P equal to -23 on their paper? Good. Because they're both opposite signs. I'm sorry, they're same signs, so we need to add them. And then if we were to check this, I would have 5, but instead of P, I have a -23. Does that equal -18? Well, when I do 5 plus -23, those are opposite signs, so I'm really subtracting. Does -18 equal -18? The answer is yes. So P equals -23. Any questions about that? Okay, let's look at number 5. Why does number 5 look a little bit different? It's backwards. So let's see if maybe the same rules still apply. So on number 5, find your variable. Your equal sign divides it in half, or into 2 different sides, so if you need to draw your line down, you can. What is over there with the K, Chelsea, that I need to get rid of? The 6. It's a positive 6, right? So how are we going to get rid of a positive 6? We're going to subtract 6 from each side. Draw our line. 6 minus 6 gives you 0. So on the right side, I just have my K left. -6 and -6. Haley? -12, not 0. -12. Can it be flipped around like this and still be the right answer? If I have 2 plus 3 equals 5, and then I have 5 equals 2 plus 3, is this the same thing to say it either way? It is, right? So it's okay if your variable is on the right side. You don't have to change it around. You can leave it just like that. And we could check it, and we're going to get the same thing. Try number 6 on your own, please. Try number 6 for me, please. W is over there on the right. How do we get rid of that 8, Terry? What'd you do to get rid of 8?
Oh.
Okay, where's the variable? It's a W. So what's over on the variable side? Because the goal, remember, is to get the variable by itself. So what's over there on the variable side? Do you see how that 8's over there with it? That 8 is over there on that right side with a W. So that's what we need to get rid of, is the 8. Because our goal is to get the variable by itself.
So you have to get rid of the variable, the one that's by the variable.
Correct. Yep. So we're going to subtract 8 from both sides. W equals 6. Did anybody else get W to be equal to 6? Okay. All right, let's turn the page. Why do these look a little bit different on this page? Because it's starting with subtraction, right? But we know the opposite of subtraction is what? Addition. Okay? So on number 7, I'm going to find my y. So Zaria, what's the first thing we should do on number 7? Okay, so locate the variable, which is y. What do I need to do to get y by itself on this one? What do I need to get rid of? The 5? Becky, how would I get rid of the 5 on number 7? Add 5, right? Because that's the opposite. Yep, on both sides. Because this is an equation and we're trying to keep things equal. So whatever we do on one side, we do on the other side. So our -5 and +5 cancel. And I'm left with y equals 4 plus 5 is 9. So let's check this one. If I'm going to check this one, I'm going to take 9 and plug it back in for the y value. All right, so 9 minus 5, does that equal 4? 9 minus 5 is 4. 4 does equal 4. So I'm good. So my answer on this one is y equals 9. Questions on number 7?
Why isn't that a -5?
On when we add 5 to each side? Like this one right here, why isn't that a -5?
No, why isn't the 5 on top of -5?
This one?
Yes.
It is. You're subtracting 5.
Okay.
What's the opposite of subtraction?
Addition.
That's why we add 5.
Okay.
Okay?
So on the test, we have to show like that?
Yep. It's a great question. You do need to show your work like this on a test. Try number 9, please, on your own. Ashley, what's the first thing on number 9 you're going to do?
Oh, I did the wrong topic, so hold on.
Okay.
Find the variable.
Which is a, right? How are we going to get a by itself? To both sides. So I'm just left with a equals -7 plus 25. Those are same signs or opposite signs? Opposite signs. And so what do we do with opposite signs? Subtract. 25 minus 7. It's 18. Is it a positive 18 or a negative 18? Positive 18. If we were to check this, I have 18 minus 25. Does that equal -7? Yes. Okay. Questions on that one? Try number 12, please. I like what I'm seeing on your papers. What sign are you doing here? Don't erase anything. What are you doing here? Are you adding 3 or are you subtracting 3? So put your plus sign here. because as things get a little bit more complicated, you want to make sure you're not losing track of what you're doing. So on 15, our A is here. So that means we are getting rid of the 3 and the 3. I saw this on someone's paper. What might be a little bit hard about this to notice? Are we adding 3 or are we subtracting 3?
Adding.
How do you know that if we don't put signs in? So I saw this on multiple people's paper. You need to make sure that you are putting your plus sign, because again, as things get a little bit more complex and we start loading more things onto it, you're going to want to make sure you know what you're doing. Okay, so the 3's are gone. Negative 15 plus 3. Same signs or opposite signs? Opposite, so we are really subtracting, which gives me a 12. Positive 12 or negative 12? Negative 12 equals A. Why don't we get rid of the 15, Mandy? Why aren't we getting rid of the 15?
That's what I did, and I got it wrong.
Okay, let's talk about why that is.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I did the 15.
Is it because the variables on the, like, it's not on the, it's on the right side?
Right. We have to find out wherever the variable is. The variable's on the right side. Is 15 on the right side? When we talk about right or left side, we're talking about this equal sign divides the problem into right and left. Okay? So if my variable is on this side over here, then I need to move whatever's on that side with the variable. Do you see how negative 3 is on that side? That's the thing you got to move off. The variable needs to stand by itself. Okay? If you add the 15 over, you're adding more things onto the side with the variable. And that's the opposite of what we want to do. So if A is over there on the right side, get rid of whatever else is over there. So let's look at 14. If you know how to do 14, go ahead. If you want a little bit of a reminder, let's talk about this. Here's your left and right side. P is your variable. Terry, are we going to get rid of the negative 3 or the negative 18?
Get rid of negative 3.
Why?
No, because it's on the right side.
Because it's beside the variable. It's not always going to be just on the right side.
Right.
It's wherever the variable is. Yeah. And how do we get rid of a negative 3 there? Add 3. Good. Negative 18 plus 3. Negative 15. Questions about that? Okay, this bottom part says translate and solve each equation. Show your work and check your solution. So translating equations means going from words to numbers. Let's talk about a couple things. Over there on the left side, we're going to talk about some vocabulary. So in this space over here where you have on the left, sum means what in math? Sum means that you are adding. What does difference mean you're doing? Okay. Difference means you are subtracting. What about product? The product is the answer to a multiplication sign or multiplication problem. Does anyone know what the answer to a division problem is called?
Quotient.
Good. Quotient. The word is in math, and this is one you're going to see a lot. The word is in math means equal to. The word is in math means equal to. So if we look at number 15, it says the sum. Okay, what does that mean I'm going to be doing in this problem? Adding. Okay, so I would write that above the words. This is how we deal with word problems. The sum means I'm going to be adding something of a number. And when it says of a number, it means we don't know what that number is. And so in math, when we don't know what a number is, what do we use instead? A variable. Does it matter what letter of variable that you choose?
No.
No. Okay. I'm just going to always choose A for today. So the sum of a number and 6. So I have 6. So sum means I'm doing what? Adding. What two things am I adding? A and 6. And then we have this word is, which means equals in math. 32. So guys, they actually have given you in order of what you should be doing. They said a number, which we said was A. We're adding plus 6 is, which is equal sign, 32. So the sum means you're adding the two things together of a number and 6 is 32.
And that's the answer we want to put.
That's translating, and then it says solve the equation. So then you would actually solve this, but we've already solved a lot of them, so we're gonna stop at that step. Let's try 16. See what you can come up with for 16. Remember to look for keywords. Increased. You have the word is in there. Pause the video and try 16. What does increased mean? Add, right? 12 increased by a number. Do we know what number that is?
No.
So we can call it any variable you want. Is in math means equal. 24. Who wants to give me their answer? Zaria?
So plus 8 equals
Whoa, slow down. What is it?
12 plus A equals 24.
Raise your hand if this is what you have. 12 plus A equals 24. Good. Those of you who didn't, do you have any questions on that one? Okay, number 17.
I got a question.
Yes.
You got increased up there and it's a plus, but you said over here sum's a plus.
Are there other words that mean addition? Okay, so increased would be one of them. I just gave you four of the ones that are most popular. Okay, so you gotta use some common sense and what you think and what in your experience has been the word increase. Okay, right. Okay, number 17. The difference. Okay, there's a word. So before we move any further, I know that difference means subtraction. So the difference between a number, I don't know what that number is, so I'm going to call it A, and 8 is 11. And is means equals. Okay. So they're giving it to me in order. The difference between a number and 8 is 11. Who wants to give it a try? April, you were really confident on the other one. Let's try this one.
A minus 8 equals 11.
Does anyone agree with April? A minus 8 equals 11. Excellent. Good. Okay, number 18. I want you to try, and then I think I can anticipate where we might have a little bit of a hang up. So try number 18. Okay, on 18, you probably have one of two answers. First of all, are these the same thing? 9 minus A and A minus 9. Are those the same thing? Let's put like 2 in for A. 9 minus 2 and 2 minus 9. Are you going to get the same answer? This gives you 7. This gives you negative 7. So is 9 minus A and A minus 9 the same thing? No. Okay? So they're not the same thing. Now we have to figure out which one is this problem asking us. 9 less than a number. Raise your hand if your answer looks like the one on the left side, this one. Okay? Raise your hand if your answer looks like the one on the right side. Jeremy and Jose, 20 gold stars. Here's the thing. You can't take 9 from anything if you don't have that number. I said that totally wrong, or totally really confusing. 9 less than a number. All right, so let's look at what that looks like. 9 less than a number. Someone shout out a number.
7,
Go higher.
9.
20. Let's try 20, okay? You don't need to write this down. I want you just to watch. 9 less than this number. So that means you have to have this number to start with in order to take 9 from it, right? 9 less than a number. You can't do this unless you already have a number in place, which means the number has to go first. So in this case, our variable has to go first. So here's the trick, guys. When you see this word than, the 9 is going, or whatever number is going after the variable. This is the trick, okay? So the word, when you see that word than, less than, more than, your number is going after the variable. Make yourself a note, box the than, please, so that highlight it. This is going to happen again. When you see that word than, it means the number is going after the variable. So in this case, it should be a minus 9 equals 5. Because we can't take 9 from something unless I have something to start with, which means you have to start with your variable. Okay? On page 3, what I'd like for you to do, we're going to take a few minutes. I'd like for you to do 1 through 15 odd. Okay? On page 3, 1 through 15 odd. Okay? Take a few minutes to work on those.